We have all three members of the committee here. Myself, Chris Rutledge. We have Scott Ryder and Bill Salazar. Thank you for joining. Moving on to the first item on the agenda, old business continued review discussion of the 5,000 series. So as we were just discussing what to go over, Scott, I have to admit, I do agree with you. Some of those 4K policies that were just sent to us do seem to be of some heightened importance, especially given what we're going through and maybe going through in the future. I'll throw this out there and I'll let you and Bill decide because I could flip a coin on this one, but if we were to schedule, because obviously we're going to be scheduling at some point another policy committee meeting and stuff, I think we could definitely hit all four of those at the next meeting, which would hopefully be before the school year, hopefully in early August. We could hit all four of those at that meeting, those four of the 6,000 series being the priority. But if you guys think that we should look at those first and then move on to the rest of the 5,000 series, I can see a good argument for that as well. Mr. Ryder.
So I would default to Mr. Longy's opinion because of their topics related to remote learning, remote meetings, etc. So if Mr. Longy feels that we need to get those quote unquote out of the way, that was just my question before we went live. So like I said to Chris, I would repeat myself. But if we're okay, if you just need those in place for September 2, then obviously we can get to them the next meeting in August. To Chris's point, I just wanted to bring that up as a topic to say that if we wanted to flip agenda items 3 and 4, if that best fits the district's needs at this time. I just wanted to get Andy's opinion on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. I think as long as, because I think we'll probably have a formal Board of Ed meeting probably near the end of August, and then another one into September. Is usually how that works. We have one near the end of August, and then immediately in the beginning of September.
Right.
My guess is, my guess is both will be done by then. And then we'll give the rest of the board quite a bit of time, some reading in the next 2 months. So I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter. I think you guys are okay. If we wanted to finish the 5,000s, that's fine. And then in August, we could go through the individual policies that are here. I spent a lot of time reading them today. The one-to-one device is going to be easy. We're going to fly through that because we actually just did it.
Right.
Because the high school had to have it. So we almost don't even need to go through that one, but we may want to adopt some of their language. But their regulations, we don't need. We did it as a group. We did it already. And if guys still listening, it was because of the high school's help. But when you look at distance learning plan, that might be really important because it's going to talk quite a bit about attendance and what that may look like and liability for the district. And then emergencies and disaster preparedness. That also gives us good definitions, working vocabulary of how to handle that. But I do think that if we're going to have a meeting in August, I think we will be able to get it both done. So I guess it's whatever you guys feel like you want to tackle right now. I'll leave that up to you guys.
So, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Salazar.
Yeah. So I heard both of the comments from Mr. Ryder and yourself, and then based on the feedback from Mr. Longy, so it sounds to me like we should just pursue the agenda and then catch him at the next meeting.
Yep, yeah. And I'm fine with that. Scott, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I just wanted this central office's input on that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want us to get in our own way on something that is important for September X. That's all.
No, absolutely. That's a good point. All right, so let's just let's see if we can mow through the rest as much of this 5,000 series as we can. So Andy, can you direct us to the next important well, they're all important. Take that with a grain of salt. highlighted policies, for lack of a better term.
You got it. So just as reference, as you guys are pulling up your packets, we made it as far as policy 5141.28.
Yep, that's what I
Okay.
have here.
Yep. And so that's where we're going to start. So once everyone is there, ready to go in order, I can let you know what is mandatory and what isn't.
Perfect.
Yep,
All set.
And I'm all set.
I'm there.
All right. So let me just find the 5141.28 on that.
And the one thing I noticed, because I did, make sure and read over these before the meeting. I mean, all these policies are very lengthy. So getting through one of them, takes away a nice chunk of the remaining stack. So
Correct. Okay. So sudden cardiac arrest.
Yep.
Okay, so it was adopted in 09. So this is a sample to consider because it's new legislation that came out, but it is not required.
So as the question that I normally ask is that, as of this moment, are we actually in compliance with the policy?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I'm assuming you guys had a chance to look these over. If not, we can take a little time for you guys to quickly go over them.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. This is not one of the highlighted items, is it?
No, Bill, the next one that is mandatory is 51414.
14.
But we wanted to just pick up where we left off first, and then we can.
Okay. So I guess it all depends on Andy's response to Chris's question, right?
Yeah.
That being the case, then we can move forward through it.
Right. So all of this happens in this particular policy. This is what we do. And it looks like they're putting the new legislation, so it's at least mentioned. So yes, I mean I don't think it hurts to have in here. There's nothing in here we don't do, and it's just codifying it. I don't think there's anything wrong with including it.
Yeah. No, because reading this over, I mean, it seemed like a good policy. It looks at even just the title, the first aid. We've seen the periodic reports of a student is at a sporting event and needs the defibrillator to be pulled out. So having something in there might not be a bad idea, especially if we're already doing it.
Correct. Yeah, and that's how we start every year is with this training.
Yeah,
that's one thing our building nurses do for us.
So Scott and Bill, are you okay with 5141.28?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
All right. Very good.
Okay, very good.
Let's move on.
Okay. So you can see there's appendix forms, which we can move through. Okay. So the next one is 5141.3. And it's a suggested replacement of different existing policies. And I would suggest that we keep this as well. It's organizing existing policies. That's all they're doing.
Okay.
They're just organizing the health assessment immunization policy for us.
All right. Now, what was your thought on the optional portion on the second page of it, where it starts with the school nurse is required to verify immunization status, et cetera, et cetera?
I personally, unless you guys think otherwise, I'd like to keep our original language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're adopting this other than the optional.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
And really the adoption of this is just numbering it properly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So are we all in agreement? We adopt 5141.3 minus that optional portion on page 2 of it?
I agree.
I'm fine.
All right. Very good.
Okay, what you're going to see next is that policy's regulation. You can see the R up there. And
Yep.
again, remember that's for the administration, and all of that looks good for from the regulation side of things.
Yep.
It's
And then at the back of that, you have the forms and stuff. And I'm assuming either we use these or we have our own forms.
correct.
Yep. Very good.
Correct. And it's a pretty good chunk. So that, like Chris, you said, it's going to go through a pretty good crunk.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Is it likely, I guess I would ask Andy, is it likely that if in fact a vaccine for COVID is developed here within the next few months, that then we will have to go back and revise this immediately thereafter?
It's possible. I think we're going to have to see what Cabe's been pretty good. They've been on top of this pretty well. So
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I think
actually a
we're gonna
really
have to
good
rely
point.
on them.
Well, within the immunization records, there is a spot for other. So if that happens before we get new paperwork printed, it can go there, at least in the interim.
Right.
Good idea.
Very good.
Okay, so the next one, this is one we have to have, but it is going to give us alternate language. So this is really going to be up to you guys here. Certainly, I'll help you with my opinion. But 5141.4, a mandated policy, and Cabe gave us the most current version of it, and this is reporting the child abuse, neglect, and sexual assault.
So for this, just to get the ball rolling, I did circle the alternate language. If you felt that was too broad, let me know. But
You like the alternative language, Scott?
yeah, from where that started there, I had circled that.
Everything that's in there is everything we do, and it's by law.
Yep.
So there's nothing in there that would be a surprise. Both languages.
No, I too like the alternate language. Actually, I think it made it less broad in some ways. I think it actually spelled out a little bit more than just the non-alternate language, for lack of a better term. But what about the optional what do people think about the optional paragraph on page? It's on point 4C, which would be page 3.
We're talking
One in
about
the
the one
box.
in the rectangle? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I liked it. I liked the part where, it talked about the ongoing evaluation and, intervention, such that I'd be okay with adding the optional part too.
I just had a question mark there just to ask Andy his opinion based on what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
What's current practice, past practice on this?
Yeah, that's all. That's part of what we do. Yeah,
Right.
That's part of state statute, and it looks like they're. I don't know why that would even be optional. I think it's fine to put in there.
So as written,
I'm not so sure why some things are optional, some aren't. It's all part of the state statute, so it doesn't really matter.
So it is a requirement already that you
Yes.
identify at risk?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And the regulation that an appendix that went with it was very detailed.
It's a very detailed thing we do, no question.
And understandably so, but yeah.
Yep.
so if we eliminate that paragraph is optional in the box, the rest of this is what we do. It's
Correct.
updated. So can I motion to approve 5141.4 as amended without that paragraph is optional in the box, if that makes sense?
So removing the paragraph is optional box, basically, just
Yep.
for clarification. All right.
Starting with the alternate language,
Yep.
which is less broad, which is what I
Mhm.
meant, and then eliminate this rectangled paragraph of this paragraph is optional.
Forgive me, gentlemen. I'm confused.
Yes, sorry.
I thought we were saying that that what's contained in the paragraph is actually being done already by the school district. So it would behoove us to include it as part of the policy.
We already say these things. It was just an optional paragraph to include.
Okay, that is contained within all of the alternate language, right?
Yes,
Yes.
and in our regulations too.
Yes.
Right. So I felt that for completion's sake, the optional language would also be included. Was that not what you were stating, Andy? Did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, it doesn't matter on our end. We do it, and so if it's it's a state statute, so it's certainly going to reflect that more so. I don't know why I thought it was optional. I don't know why.
Okay. So based on that, I would my vote would be for us to include the optional paragraph as part of the entire policy.
Scott, do you want to say anything else on that?
No, that's fine. I saw some of these same words above and below that paragraph, so I thought it was just a different way to say it.
Maybe that's why it was. Maybe as I'm looking at it more, Scott, I think that's what it is. I think it's because it's stated, but I think it doesn't hurt. It doesn't matter, I guess is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. It kind of
with
what they've been saying.
With something this important, it's okay to be redundant. I
would say keep it in. I would just say let's just keep it.
Thank you, Bill.
All right.
Yep, no problem.
So Scott, just for the record, should I assume that you're withdrawing your motion?
Yeah, I just didn't want to move on without saying something to go on to the next number.
No,
so, yes,
definitely not. Definitely not. All right.
I will amend based on Bill's suggestion to leave that wording in there, removing the words "this paragraph is optional." Just start with "it is mandated," and just take the rectangle off.
All right. And are we all in agreement there?
Yes.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, so I sped through the regulations, but if you guys want to look at those, that's fine. But it's long. But that's again, that's not for the public. That's for the administration.
Yep. No, I think the regulation is very detailed and complete.
Yep. Okay, so 5141.5, that is a mandatory one. And it looks like they renumbered it properly for us. And it is on suicide prevention and intervention.
All right. No, I think this is a good one.
Yeah, we don't really have a choice. It is what some wording you can change around, but we have to have that.
Yep.
And then they updated our regulation again for that, which gives the administration a little more detail of what that exactly means.
You know, I actually have to admit, one thing I liked about this one was the appendix of 0.5, where it actually gave the flow chart to help people visualize what the process is.
Yeah, I agree.
So in our 5000 series appendix, they list and I circled this because I wanted to ask, they list a 5141.6, but my packet went from the 0.5 we're currently discussing to a 0.7. So I circled 0.6, and I know it's not required and we might already have something similar, but maybe it's somewhere else in our world because it's not in my pile.
Yeah, Scott, it wasn't in mine either.
Not in mine either.
Oh, I have it. No, I'm just kidding.
Share your screen. Share your screen.
Yeah. Bill, you actually had me looking like through the rest of the packet. Like, where did I put it?
No, but it is the case that earlier on, but not today, but on a previous meeting, we did find it stuck somewhere.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Let me just
So,
make a note of it.
yeah.
5141.6. No.
Because there's a 6 and there's also a 6-1.
6.
So those were the two that I'd circled.
A 6-1.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both on our float, on our like what to look for chart, but they're not in the packet.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll have Kathy call Cave and find out where those are.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like based on their topics, they're important. They may have been moved, but
Yeah.
I don't think they would have, either one would go away based on their names.
Yeah, does it say what? Well, let me look on this other chart. Does it say that it's a number?
They're not marked as the bold.
Yeah, they
they're
don't
not
list-
marked as bolded, but
Right, but they don't have like a form or number appropriate as
Oh,
written.
that's
They're like,
what I was
there's no markings at all.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
and
Sorry,
Andy, if
I'm
it
not-
helps, it's these are policies involving crisis management and dealing with the effect of a death.
Yeah, I see that. Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. Don't know. Okay, so moving on. So 1.7 on concussions. That's good practice or policy, not mandated. I would strongly suggest we keep this. It's been renumbered.
I agree.
Okay.
It says it's been renumbered, but the former number was the number.
Yeah,
Oddly
funny,
enough.
right?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
Same with the next.
Oh, they updated the legal reference. That's what they need.
Right.
All right, and then the regulation comes after that.
Yep.
Yeah, the 5,000s, if you've noticed, is a lot of regulations because it's a lot of how to do it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now we're at, right, yes, policy 5142.
And this is the same. It's just updated legal.
Yes. So this
And
is
the
an
number.
existing policy we have. We don't have to have it, but we have had it. And it's just they updated the legal reference for this.
Yep.
Mhm.
I would say leave it in there.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
No, no disagreement here.
And then once again, we jump to regulations.
Andy, could I just make a comment?
Sure, of course.
On Appendix A for 5142, where it lists all the phone numbers, contact numbers,
Yes.
would it behoove us with the world going to 10-digit phone numbers to just add the area code to this sheet just to be safe? With like my cell phone is an Albany area code because I've had the same number since 97, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So Appendix A.
Just to add the area 860 to all these.
Yeah, that's
Not a bad idea. Yeah, especially since I think Connecticut is a new area code too. I think it's like 959 or something, or 9.
I did see one other change to on Appendix B since we're in here. Oh no, that's 5142.11.
Oh, the prison escape policy.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
on that one, I didn't even see a policy with that. I only
No.
saw the regulation, the
And
appendix.
that was my question on that because the regulation has to be changed. And Rico Fermi High School, we have to change that name.
Yeah.
514211.
There's 2 schools to change there. 2 names.
Oh, and Hale too.
5142.11.
And likewise, I think the comment about the phone applies here too. Right?
Former number. Oh, it's only a regulation.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Interesting. Okay, so let's make those changes. So Nathan Hale is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so that comes out. Hazardville's the same, and this is going to be the Enfield Annex because we still do have kids over there.
And adult ed as well.
Okay, so Nathan Hill is out. Okay, so that was easy.
All right. So we're okay with this regulation as modified to take
Yeah.
away Nathan Hale and add 860 in front of the numbers.
Right, and then we've got a telephone tree.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which will also have to be modified a little bit.
Annex. Start Smith, Parkman, Nathan Hale. So I'm going to cross out Nathan Hale. Memorial, Crandall, Whitney, Enfield Street. Okay, I'm good there.
All right.
Okay. Escape identification. Okay.
Related to the phone tree.
Yes.
We don't have Stowe on here, just to be safe.
Don't we?
So
Yeah.
maybe change Head Start to Stowe's main office, and that way you'd get Miss Valley and you'd get all the tenants in one call.
Yeah, I'm going to add Stowe to that.
Thanks.
Good call on that one. Good.
Would we also want to add the Eagle Academy?
Yeah.
Why don't I put that with Enfield High School?
There you go.
Okay, good catch on that one. Okay.
All right.
Good.
All right.
Okay, so now we're at 51444.1.
Yep.
And that is a mandatory policy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it looks like they revised it a bit. And attendance are required. And they didn't really make much changes. It's a good policy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's current.
Now, the only question I had on this one was on page E. Under section 2, it talks about the creation of a plan, and then it says such a plan is to be implemented not later than July 1/18.
Right.
I'm going to assume that such a plan does exist.
Correct.
All right, very good.
Do we need that highlighted rectangle that says that statement, or can we just go from 2 to 3 since July 1, 2018, we've had that?
Yeah, you're right. I don't think we need that. 2 years past that.
Along similar lines on the next page, page F, there is the under exclusionary timeout. There's the not later than July 1st, 19. Maybe we just get rid of that part and start with the board establishes this portion, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay.
And again, as I always ask, I'm going to assume that regarding this, we have our own forms and.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we use the forms the state has created. And
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah, because I noticed this policy was very form heavy. So.
Yep.
And understandably so, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the whole thrust of the 5,000.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also.
And obviously, wherever it needs to fill in the name of the town, I've been filling those in.
Oh, right. No, I'm just saying there's also an incredibly lengthy regulation associated with this one as well.
Correct.
Yeah. See, Andy, just an observation, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like, as opposed to some previous policy series that we've worked on, where, we've gone through and we've decided, should it be this paragraph or this paragraph? Should it say this? Should it say that? This one is definitely seems to be much more mandated, like
Correct.
specific language by the state. Am I right in that
Very-
assumption?
Very, very much so. Very
Okay.
much so. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, once you guys are all set with that one, that takes us through that particular packet that Kathy put together for us. So I don't know if that's how you guys have it by chunks, but we're on to the last chunk.
Yep.
Okay.
Andy,
Yes.
I'm sorry, on regulation page G, did you cross
Yes.
out that box like we did on?
Got it. Yep.
Thanks. Sorry.
Good catch.
Good.
Okay, so let me grab the other chunk here.
Yep, and it starts with 5144-2A.
You got it. That's the last chunk. So the good news is this is the last chunk of 5,000. So we're doing great here. We're moving here. This is the tail end. And again, there's not a lot of them, but they're long. That's all. And like Chris said, it's really, there's not a lot of wiggle room with some of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bill, it's another chunk 5144.2. It will start. And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
take a quick time out.
I'm looking for it. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And this is the last
The last chunk of them. Yeah.
chunk. Yeah.
Now, actually, oddly, it's interesting that I just said the comment that I said about this policy series doesn't have much where we get to, pick, should it say this? And then the first of this last chunk has one of those things.
Yeah.
It's got this or this.
I mean, personally, I like the second paragraph. I don't know what Bill and Scott, I don't know your opinions.
Yeah. So the first one is very, very general, right?
Yeah.
Very general. And then the second one they can consider is going to give the public a little more definitions,
Right.
A little more description of what it looks like.
Yeah, it also seems to it seems to, I think, better describe the purpose as well.
I agree. And I think it's good for everyone to be on the same page with that.
I apologize. I actually like the second paragraph's wording, but
Yep, we're on the same
Yeah,
page,
I
then,
think
Scott.
I
Yeah.
think that's what
Okay.
the consensus is. Yeah.
You got it.
Great.
Let's go with paragraph 2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did I make anything else? Oh, yeah, that was it. And Andy, I think I'm just going to stop asking you if we have our own forms because I know the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah. I'll let you know if the forms aren't working out.
Very good. Appreciate that.
so for this one on page D, there's a spot to fill something in. Andy, do you know who that
I
is?
took care of it. Yep.
Good, gotcha, thank you.
It's just the first line that they said.
Yep.
And then I got rid of the line that's who we use.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, if we're good on that, and you just tell me to stop if we're not. 5144.4, physical exercise and discipline of students is a mandated policy. And I do not believe, no, unless you want to change small wording, this is the way it needs to read.
Hmm.
Yep, I'm good with that one. I'll let everyone chime in, but I looked at that already.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with this as well. Actually, the only comment I had on this was that, I can remember when,
I knew
I was
someone
of
would
the
say,
age of if there was recess, like that was actually like if you misbehaved in class, that was one of your punishments. Like you would have sit in the classroom while the kids went out for recess.
yeah, this is a little bit more of, I don't know what high school you went to or middle school, but there was a time the old school teachers, if you were late to class, they would make you do push-ups outside the room,
Oh wow.
things
Well,
like
no,
that.
yeah.
I think the flavor is a little bit more with that.
Mhm.
But you're not using any type of physical exercise as discipline,
Gotcha.
or like you said, restricting physical exercise. It's trying to
Right,
make sure that physical exercise is a very positive thing for students.
No, definitely. I
Drop
agree.
and give me
Completely.
20.
Yeah, there you go, Doc. That's it. You remember those days.
Now, if we ever open up the
certainly in PE we had it.
yeah.
When I went to high school, in PE we had it. But I was never the recipient of any of it.
Yeah, the issue is when the English teacher did it in front of
Right.
everybody.
Now, if we ever open up the Enfield Military Academy, maybe that would be a
That would be
different,
a different story. Yeah.
different story. But yeah.
Okay. 5145, if you guys are okay with that. This is a policy to consider. And I thought it was interesting. Shipman and Goodwin developed this. This is the attorneys we use.
Yep.
So usually when Shipman and Goodwin put something together, I usually take note of it.
I was good with this one. I just wrote Andy ? On it.
No, I thought it was very good. I think it's helpful to parents and for the public to understand Section 504.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
procedures, things like that. I think it's a good thing.
I don't think I had any comments on this one. Notes. No. Oh, yeah. The only question I had on this one was actually on page J. I just wanted to confirm that the person listed, I'm guessing we'll put in our own Section 504 coordinator because this is the one for Portland.
Yeah, so that's under the regulation.
Yeah.
And so I can go through this regulation and I can obviously make it tailored for us.
Okay, very good. Perfect. And then the same would also apply to the notice section that comes after the regulation. That would be tailored to.
Yeah. Yep, that's all got to be tailored to us.
Very good.
Just making notes on it.
Wow.
Okay. We have I'm just gonna, if you guys are okay, under the past the regulations, there's, I wanted to bring the meeting notice. We have our own.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna cross those out. If you guys are okay with that, we have that we use that work out very well for 504s.
Very good.
Yep.
I think this is for districts that have nothing.
And when you do that, do you resend them ours just so they double check everything before we bless it as a board?
Yes.
Like
Judy,
we use this
secretary,
form. Yep.
Right. Judy does the regulation side of it.
Perfect.
Kind of interesting. He's in charge of the regulations. I give the regulations to Judy. Kathy handles the policies.
Gotcha. That way they're just double checking our
Correct.
worksheet.
That's
in
right.
addition to our policies.
That's right. And they look basically identical, so everyone's using the same forms, but that way I don't have to go and change all the names.
Tom?
All right, I'm almost done.
Yeah, no, this is a long one. So yeah.
Oop, did I go to? Okay, perfect. Okay, so sorry about that. So now we're at policy 5145.1 on student privacy.
Yeah.
And this is just to consider. This is not something we have to have. And it looks like we have not had a policy around this before. I'm not necessarily think we need it, but it's up to you guys. It talks a lot about surveys but you guys look it over. It's I don't think it hurts nor necessarily helps us if you guys feel comfortable with it one way or the other.
I mean, I did like it because, obviously this day and age with, all sorts of technology and this and that, their, privacy issues are of concern out there. Also, I mean, it's one thing that we've even said as a, board as a whole, for the reason that we can't talk about certain things up from the dais and such, because we have to be very cognizant of, of privacy, of things that should be private rather. I wouldn't have any objection to adopting this, but I'd like to hear from Bill and Scott if they have any opinions either way.
I didn't know that we. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Please, Scott, finish.
No. I was just going to say I didn't know that we didn't have something like this. I saw it was a version to consider, but if we don't have this, I in today's day and age, we might need it. It kind of shows that the privacy issues are a two-way street. That not just a standard we're being held to, but that we also look out for the students' behalf as well, especially regarding technology and what it is today.
Oh, yes.
And we're giving out iPads now. Everybody's going to have a one-to-one device. I'm sure there will be surveys going out for this reason and others. And so, again, if we don't have it and it doesn't violate anything, it'd be good to have it as a two-way street.
So I'm sorry that you were finished where you're coming from. Okay, so I'm actually of a different opinion. I was of the opinion that if we don't have it and it's not required, I don't necessarily want to introduce it. Not because I'm against what the policy states. I just more regulations. So that is really my only concern. If it's another regulation that we have to have and that we're not required to have, I would skip it. But seems that I'm in the minority, so I don't feel about it that strongly that I would continue to argue the point.
You're not in the minority. That's me, brother.
All right, so what I'm sensing here is that I like this policy, Scott. It seems that you like this policy, and what I'm sensing from you, Bill, is that while you may have some concerns, it's not the policy you want to throw yourself on your sword for.
That's correct.
All right.
Very good.
All right.
Okay. Kind of appropriate since a survey went out today too.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. Yeah.
So, Chris, are we going to include it, and then maybe during the first reading it gets pulled out if people feel like Bill? And I mean, our job is just to forward things to the other
Correct.
six.
I agree.
Yep. Let them find it and they can talk about it.
Right. When the when the 5,000 series minus the policies we've already approved come up for board approval, if somebody makes a motion to amend and remove 5145.1, that can obviously be discussed as the whole board.
Better make my notes now.
Yeah.
Got to be a good note taker.
Sorry, 5145.11. This is not a policy this is another policy we currently do not have. It's one that it looks like it says it's a good practice.
I actually found this one interesting. In that, I see that there are definitely some distances, or not distances, differences between what this policy is talking about and what our school resource officers and such um, do. But I have to admit, I'm on the fence on this one.
So in this instance, I would agree with Bill's argument on the last one, because we do have SROs and we kind of, even if they are police, which ours are, it's probably covered somewhere else under our relationship between our students, staff, and SROs.
I can see that. Yeah. So would it be a correct paraphrasing, Scott? Then you don't necessarily think this policy needs to be adopted?
Correct.
All right. I can't disagree. As I said, I was very on the fence on this one. So, Bill, does your argument from the previous policy apply to this one?
Well, yes, and I actually feel a little bit more strongly about this one.
Me too.
As an example,
Yeah.
point number 3, preferably the officer doing the questioning will wear civilian clothes. That may hamper, operations
Yeah.
based on what we have today.
I'll be honest with you. We don't have the ability to tell them what to do. Once they take over a case in the school, we're done.
Right.
I'm very glad you guys came to that conclusion. I don't think we could enforce this policy. I really don't. I think we could not enforce this policy.
Anything is possible, Andy. Anything is possible.
Maybe not the Hill Outwood guy.
So then, Andy, I'm going to say there's consensus to not adopt 514511.
I think that's wise.
All right.
Okay. Next one. Search and seizure. 5145.12. It's an existing policy. They're going to renumber it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And also
with updated legal
reference.
Yep.
I would strongly suggest that you guys keep this search and seizure.
Now, though, one thing about this policy, though, is that if you notice on the next page, there's a much lengthier version.
Yes. So you've got good catch there. Thank you. So you've got 2 to consider. So the first one is shorter, a little more concise, still keeps with legal. The second one is another one that you can consider. That's much more detailed, with some a lot more detail.
Yeah.
So really, you need one of them. We have to have a statement about search and seizure. That's a must for our operations.
I like the first one for the simplicity of it, and it gives you a broader brush to paint with.
Yes.
I don't want you to trip over yourselves with 0.24L versus the 2 paragraphs that it says already. So that's my vote.
Okay.
I concur.
Okay.
All right. So, Bill and Scott, you both prefer the shorter version?
The first one, correct.
Version A versus B. Yep.
I will go along with I'll follow the crowd on this one.
You guys are doing great tonight. Everything I was
just tonight, Andy. Just tonight.
Just tonight. It's amazing.
I just wanted to point out on the last one, if you look at the regulations, like all that's there.
Yep.
In the regulations that we give to our admins. So
that's where, in my opinion, that's where it should be.
Yeah.
That's just the way I feel.
Agreed. I mean, that makes sense.
Okay, I'm kind of moving through the regulations quick.
And the appendix.
Yep. Okay.
Now, actually, on the next one, 5145.122.
Yep.
It seemed what's the?
They're bringing in law. I don't know why they didn't include it. I thought it was weird too, but now they're bringing in canines. And the reason why we need this is, you guys know that once or twice a year we do bring the canine dogs into the secondary schools.
Okay.
So that's what this is going to be touching on now. And also in there, you'll see that talks about an MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the board and the police department. And so there is that communication back and forth. So the police just can't say, we're bringing the dogs, there has to be notification, we have to agree on it. All of that is written down in an MOU. And so I think this is important to have because it really allows us to have a good communication with the Enfield Police Department.
Nope, understood. No, that makes
Sure.
sense.
Curiosity on my part, Andy, is that reviewed or a new one generated every year, or how often?
It's in the MOU. It's every year we have to review it.
Every year.
It's usually in the summer. We do that. Chris and I will sit down with the chief and get his.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So the next policy we have is the use of alcohol detection devices, 5145-124.
Correct. If life ever gets back to normal and we can actually have prom again. Yep. Yeah. So this is important. Well, at least it was to a board, at one point, and hopefully the board still thinks it's important to do. And that is, for lack of a better word, using a breathalyzer to keep kids safe during activities. So that's what this is talking about.
Now, the only thing I saw on this, and it's a very, it might not even be a typo, but it might be, it's under section C, second sentence, permitted to attend the D as in David, OE authorized activity. I wasn't sure if that actually should be BOE.
I'm sorry, D, students testing positive
Yeah.
in that section?
No, it's
No.
under paragraph C, refusal to screen.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the second sentence, it says permitted to attend, or second line rather, permitted to attend the
it's typo.
Delta Oscar. Okay.
Yeah, typo, good job.
All right.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if maybe that meant Department of Education authorized activity or something, but yeah.
No, absolutely not. No, good catch.
So basically what this policy is to, at the risk of making things too jovial, this basically prevents kids from spiking the proverbial punch at prom.
Well, at least beforehand. And
Or
then
beforehand,
we can
yeah.
breathalyze at any time during those dances. Believe it or not, that's it. Nowadays, for whatever reason, alcohol is not a big motivator for the kids before dances.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's because they know they're going to be breathalyzed. I think at one point it was a lot bigger deal to show up to those things intoxicated. Kids are different now, which is a good thing.
Just for my own curiosity, do all the students actually get breathalyzed before that event?
Everyone.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, I'm going to guess that there is a certain limit. So it's not just going to pick up if somebody like gargled some Listerine 15 minutes before they got to prom.
It's pretty strong. I have to say, it's pretty strong.
Okay.
It really, you could even open up like a bottle of beer or wine or something and just hold it over it, and just the fumes itself will trigger it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Now, is it like, does basically, and again, this is all curiosity, and I'm sorry for digressing, but
That's okay.
does the breathalyzer literally have to read like 0.000? Or is there like a little bit of leeway?
It actually doesn't, it's not, those are super expensive. That tells you actually the blood alcohol content.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a screen, and it starts off as in green. And if there's any indication, it moves up a tracker and it gets bigger and bigger until it gets to yellow and then red. So like you said, a lot during proms, a lot of the girls will wear perfume or there might be mouthwash. Those usually will uptick on the green.
Okay.
So you'll know because it's constant. When kids are coming up, you'll smell a lot of perfume. It's picking all of that stuff up. You know immediately when someone's been drinking it. It spikes up to red immediately.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. No, it's good for you guys to know. This was a pretty major topic in 2009, just so you know.
Oh, I can imagine. All right. So everybody's okay with 0.124?
Okay, so
Yes.
5145.
Yes. Sorry, I was muted.
14. This is a required policy. about on-campus recruitment.
Yep.
I think you may know that at the high school level, we still allow recruiters to come in, usually during lunchtime or whatever. That is allowed, and that's through policy that's allowed.
Yeah, I've worked with like Carrie Montefort and the guidance office.
Yeah.
Like they'll tell us, here's the dates for all the visits, and then we
Yes.
post it on the website and everything. So you know
Correct.
that on the next 5 days, here's who's coming, and they come during Eagle Hour, et cetera.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
So, curiosity on my part, who
Yes.
is it? Who is it open to? I assume schools, higher education.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Go-
different
Scott.
colleges, come. Also,
Yeah.
different vocational groups will come. I believe there are even military days where like the Air Force recruiter might come one day
Correct.
during Eagle Hour and the Army the following.
Yes.
They usually do like 60 days. It's very thorough, and it'll start like the second or third week of September, and for the next 2 months,
Mhm.
there's somebody there. And so if these are 3 or 4 colleges that interest you, you want to make sure you sign up to go and be one of the 20, 25 kids that get to meet the recruiters from these schools on these days.
Okay, but it's not like you have any employers showing up for this, right?
No,
well,
it's,
our actually at the high school, we do quite a few career days and things. That's what the
Cool,
career
yeah.
counselors do. But this is more specifically talking about military and
Yes.
at the middle school level, when they start to get introduced like to Suffield VOAG or some of the other tech programs out there. That's what
Okay.
that covers.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we, again, my understanding is that one, higher learning and military.
Yes.
Right.
And
Okay.
so that also gives us permission like to do the college night. And so it allows colleges to come in, and because basically
Right.
you
No,
as
and
a-
that's all good. I'm perfectly
we're
fine
we're
with that.
giving
Yeah.
entities the ability to recruit your kids. So it's
Yeah.
it's a good policy.
hey, Bill, I'll email you a sample of last fall's, like the 60 dates of who came which days, so you can see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
At the high
great.
school.
Thank you.
See, yeah. There's a lot going on at the high school. Okay, the next one is 5145.15. And this is actually a suggested replacement for an existing policy. And this one is going to reflect up-to-date legislation modifications. And then again, there's forms again.
Yeah. Now,
And there's alternative language for this as well.
Right. I did like this one. I'm not a fan of the alternative language because it seems to be that the person has to consciously opt out of having this information disclosed. This kind of reminds me of, you're on a website, maybe you're buying something from a website, maybe, you're filling out a survey online, and there's a box at the bottom that says you have to check this box if you don't want to be contacted by us and stuff like that. And half the time people forget to check the box, and then all of a sudden your email is filled up with all sorts of spam. To me, this is kind of several levels down, but if the alternate language were the opposite, I'd be fine, which I think is actually the kind of what the policy says. But I don't like the alternate language that a parent would actually have to tell you, hey, don't disclose this directory information. I think it should just be assumed.
Yes. Yeah, the top part definitely covers what we do, and I would agree with you. And a lot of this is like the military want to know who our kids are. They want addresses and stuff.
Yep.
That can't happen without parent permission.
Good. All right. So does anybody have any objection basically just scrapping that alternative language box?
No, I don't have an issue.
All right.
No.
There we go.
Very good. Okay. Then we get the notification forms.
Sorry, one quick question on the same page. That doesn't the first, second, third, fourth paragraph in that page kind of counter the language on the box that we just got rid of? Actually, no, it doesn't counter. Doesn't it state the same thing?
Bill, where are you? I'm sorry.
Actually, you
It's
know, Bill
the
has a good
fourth
point.
paragraph on the same page on 5145.15.
No, actually, Bill makes a really good point. It kind of does. It says that the military recruiters will get the name, address, and phone numbers unless the parent says no, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not to sound like the, you know, cynical person here, but let's face it, the military knows all our information anyway. But
Oh, you're not wearing your hat today.
Tinfoil hat?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
on a tinfoil. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually not a bad-
No, but here it says military recruiters or institutions of higher learning. So how is this different than the directory information, that language that we just got rid of?
It's not. It's just going into detail. So in other words, when it says alternative language,
Yes.
the district may disclose any of the items listed as directory information without prior consent. So we're getting rid of that.
Uh-huh. It says unless notified in writing to the contrary.
Right.
And then on paragraph 4, it says in many more words, just
Yeah, I think it's just
My
giving it more
interpretation-
detail. Yeah, it's just going into more detail, Bill. That's
okay.
all.
So what?
More detail.
So what we were trying to prevent, we cannot prevent, is what I'm hearing. In other words, you don't, unless you opt out, your information is being distributed, and there's no way to
Yeah.
prevent that.
Well, right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the military at the beginning of the year says we want all the 11th graders' telephone numbers, we can't just give that to them by policy. We have to send out a permission slip form, for example. And I'm giving a total example. I haven't been at the high school in a while. That would have to go to all the parents, and it would be a non-consent. So they would have to tell us, I do not want that to happen.
Oh, so you actually
Oh.
though inform all the parents and
Yeah.
keep them.
Yeah, the U.S. Navy wants to send recruiting information to your child. If you do not want to be on that mailing list, please check this box and send it back with your child. It's a non-consent form.
Okay, actually,
all right.
I like
yeah.
that.
So we get back forms of people who do not want to do it.
Right. No. Okay. I understood.
We
I
don't
wasn't
get it
aware
back,
that.
then that family's going to get something from the military. I don't know who they decide to send it to. If it's a blank mailing, I don't know. But unless
Okay.
we get that back,
So,
you're
so
going to
this
get.
particular policy. Sorry. Please finish, Andy.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So
Bob.
this particular
Okay.
policy, though, this
All
particular
right.
policy does not, what is the word? Motivate you guys to do that. Does not cover you for doing that. You do that just as a matter of standard operating procedure, but it's not covered by this policy. In other words, if you wanted to stop doing that tomorrow, you would be able to.
No, I think this policy states we do have to do that, Bill.
Okay, where does it say that?
The very first sentence, directory information or class lists of students' names and or addresses and telephone lists shall not be distributed without the consent of the parent.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, just to let you guys know, my interpretation was that the alternate language was an alternate to what Andy just read.
Okay.
That's
And
how I
also,
had
in that,
interpreted
and
it.
for example, in that military, it does go on to say that such information not be released without prior written parental consent.
Okay.
So really, it's rephrasing it again. It's giving a more specific example because, to be honest with you, that's where this comes from. It's from the military. They can be pretty invasive. They can. I mean, that's their job. They're recruiting kids. So it kind of gives us a buffer to slow it down a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. No, thank you very much. Because yeah, I didn't know that occurred, so I apologize.
That's what you guys were saying. That's my fault. I misunderstood.
No,
it.
honestly,
No.
I should have asked the question.
Well, we're all clear on it now, and I think we all feel
Okay.
comfortable with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Then I'm fine with it. So
Okay,
So am I. So am I. Yes.
very good.
all right. So we're on 45.2,
Yes. Let me
All
just get to the forms.
and this
Okay.
one is about freedom of speech and expression.
Yeah, so this is recommended, but it's not
I-
mandatory. So I'm curious what you guys have to say about this one.
I actually like it. I know that I know there is a Supreme Court case law on, that like if you look up at SCOTUS, there is legal precedent for there are certain limits to the First Amendment in schools. I think one of the most famous cases in recent memory was I think it was in Alaska or something, but it was the Bong Hits for Jesus case, where a school district had basically prevented some student from holding up a banner that said Bong Hits for Jesus, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, the school can do that. So I recognizing that there are limits, I do like that this though recognizes that freedom of expression is important for healthy growth and development and such, but it also puts certain limits on what types of materials are allowed. Like I like number 3, materials should not advocate illegal actions. I like having that in there. I'm
Yeah, but there's also number 5, which says material will not imminently threaten to disrupt the educational process of the school, and I think you can catch so many things with that.
I agree with you on that. That is a very vague one.
Mm.
And I wouldn't mind taking 5 out.
Well, that's a legal standard, though, guys. We got to be careful with that one. So, disrupting the educational process is a legal standard that we have a right to have as a school system.
Yeah.
And I would really caution you guys about that.
Right. But I was going to continue, Andy, along your same lines. Bill, I would bet you a cup of coffee that if I were to look up that SCOTUS decision, this number 5 is probably the standard they applied to the case. It wouldn't shock me.
And that actually goes with dress code. That goes with, what freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Your First Amendment doesn't leave when you come in the school door, but you also can't negatively affect the educational process. It's a balancing line, right? It's a tough balancing line, and that's what lawyers are paid for. But there's a lot of cases like that. There's a lot of cases that stretch that limit just like that.
Now, out of curiosity, Andy, can you elaborate a little bit on number 9? Material may not be sold on school property, nor can material which seeks a donation or solicits funds to be circulated. Because I mean, to me, that almost says, like, let's say kids at JFK wanted to raise money for Rachel's Challenge, and they print materials to seek donations and solicit funds for Rachel's Challenge. This policy here under 9, at least my interpretation, is that they could be prevented from doing that.
I think that's a school. I think the difference is that's a school-sponsored event.
Correct. So a school or PTO sponsored.
Yeah.
Event.
So like clubs, the high school has a bunch of different clubs that do a lot of good in the community.
Sure.
There's a lot of fundraisers. I think this is if a student came in on their own without the endorsement of the school and had a cause that just they had,
right,
and started to sell materials.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're saying, listen, it's got to be school sponsored, because who knows who that could offend, and you got to draw someone could come in and want to raise money on their own for something that is very, very offensive to people. On one
Can
way,
we add without being school sponsored to that?
I think that certainly would clear it up for me, because I believe that is what
you're doing. Excuse me.
Where would you suggest we put that, Scott, as a wordsmith here at the end?
Yeah, just or solicit funds be circulated without being school sponsored or school authorized, whichever.
There you go. I like that one, Scott.
because I can think of a bunch of examples where the school does authorize it, but it's not a club. Fire happens and a student's displaced.
Yeah,
We might do a Friday dress down and the kids get them behind it. That if letter of the law, that couldn't happen, but I think that does clear it up quite a bit. I like that.
So in that scenario, you could just go to your wings admin, et cetera.
Yeah, we'd
I-
like to do a
I
fundraiser.
like
We're
that.
doing
I
this
like
for
that.
this reason.
You got it. You got it. And especially at the secondary level, kids are pretty active with that, wanting to raise funds for fellow classmates, things like
Yeah.
that.
All right. So so Scott, just to make sure your school authorized language, that would be added to the end of number 9.
That's where I
Correct.
have
So,
it, if that
so
makes sense.
after the word circulated, say
Yep.
without school authorization. Just
I
two
like
words.
it. I like it.
Well, you guys know
Without
how I
school
feel about adding a
authorization.
policy.
Okay.
So, are you pulling out your sword for this one?
So my sword would be pointless because I'm in the minority here. But, you know,
Wow.
we'll,
Okay.
we'll bring it up with the whole board. See what
All right,
everybody-
there you go. All right,
Okay. All right, we're getting there.
we're almost done. We can do
We're
this.
almost there. Yeah, we're almost there. 5145.4. This is Title 9, non-discrimination. And this is a statement, and it looks like they updated the legal reference because this is a policy we've had already.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah, so they updated the legal reference, so that's the only change in this one. So this one's kind of an easy one.
I would say move forward as revised.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. The next one is 45.5. It's about sexual discrimination and harassment. Do we have anything, Andy, already on this one? Because it says it's a sample policy to consider, and I can't believe that we don't have something somewhere that talks about.
Let me get there. I was just looking at the regulation real quick. Okay.
Chris, read the number again.
5145.5. And it's not even one of the bolded ones.
I am not seeing that one. 5140 5145.5.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. On the chart, it says it's
Okay.
just it's
Yeah.
a policy that they gave for us.
Now, I do know that at least on the discrimination part, I actually think that the policy that we actually separated out of the 5,000 series so many months ago
I think
covered it.
Yes. So I was just going to say the Title IX policy that we have does cover this, but I think what they've done, and I think rightfully so, they've separated that one component of sex discrimination and sexual harassment.
Yeah.
My guess is we're going to get a new policy on this anyway. So I would just say we approve this for now.
Sure.
The federal government just tightened the requirements from the federal government for
right.
sex discrimination and sexual harassment. So I'm sure we're going to be getting from CABE a more updated policy on that anyway. So I think it's a good thing that we get this in now. And I think it may be updated a bit in the future.
Sounds good. All right. All right, we have about 15 minutes left. We actually only have a few policies left to go here. I don't know, unfortunately, if we'll be able to get them all done, but we're getting so close. The next one is 5145.511, Sexual Abuse and Assault Awareness Prevention Program. It's an existing policy, just renumbered and updated legal reference.
Yep.
I would say, since that's the case, we already have it. It already exists, and it's just updated for legal reasons. We
And
just
it's everything we do.
put it in the book and
Put it in the book.
Yep.
All right, next one is a new policy recommended to consider. It's on transgender and gender non-conforming youth. I read this policy over, and one of the things that, once again, I'm going to go back to a comment I made a little while ago, that when the policy that we separated out of the 5,000 series at the beginning of this, which was to basically have the board approve our non-discrimination statement, I do remember that policy had in it preventing discrimination, based on gender identity and things of that nature. I think this policy just kind of spells out, it kind of, to me, and Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, my interpretation of this policy was actually mostly that it kind of defined what we mean by transgender and gender nonconformance.
Yeah, so this policy is gonna give the public definitions of the terms. So I think there's a common language people would use.
Yeah.
My guess is this is at some point, this isn't going to be recommended. It's going to be mandatory. So I guess
I agree.
Whether you guys want to jump ahead of it.
Yeah.
That's okay. So we're looking at number 5145.53, right?
Correct. And like literally this whole policy is just chock filled with definitions.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
How come I can't find it? Oh, no.
Yeah, we went through a lot of regulations to get there, Bill. It's really near the end. There was quite a few appendixes and.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yes.
So if I may, I will say that I know it's recommended. I'm also taking Andy's advice that eventually this won't be to consider. It will be something that'll be
I agree.
required. And I believe that the definitions will only help people that don't understand these definitions understand them.
Absolutely. Bill, are you okay with this one?
Yes, I'm okay with this.
Awesome. Then I am actually happy to report, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in both the audience and on the committee, that we are at the last policy of the 5,000 series, P5145.6.
Well, we're at the last one in our dittos, our handouts, but there's a couple left
That are not included?
Yeah, that aren't here. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Very true. That's a fair point. At least, well, all right, then let me rephrase. We're at the last policy in my packet.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
I'm just
we have,
wondering, are these 6 that are missing something we need to take a look at? I know they're not required, that there's no notations that the laws have changed, etc. But how can we get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 documents just to review as a group?
Andy, how about this? Can I request of you that for our next policy committee meeting, that you look forward and, if we're going to meet virtually, then email. Otherwise, we can find a way to get it, but get us copies of 5145.7 through 5156.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we got to add 5141.6 and 5141.61. That wasn't in there as well.
Oh, that's right. Those ones from earlier, correct? Yeah. So if we could maybe look for those in between now and our next meeting, that'd be great. Other than that, I'm looking at right now 5145.6 student grievance procedure for Title IX.
Yeah, that's required.
Yep.
It is required, and I think the first option well, there's only one option. I think this works and it is required. And I was just looking at the regulations. There was
Yep.
suggested regulations, but if we adopt it, we'd put those in the books too.
Right. Nope. Compliance with Title IX is definitely important. If it's required, it's required.
Correct.
So is everybody okay with the Title IX policy?
I am.
All right. Well, then, Scott and Bill, we have, aside from those 8 missing policies, we have just gotten through the 5,000 series. Congratulations. I'd buy you a soda or some dinner if we could meet in person right now, just as a way to do this. We only have 9 minutes left in the meeting, and obviously we had a lot of new business here. So I'm actually going to suggest that somebody make a motion to postpone indefinitely all items under new business.
That motion would be for items under new business on the agenda today.
Correct.
Yes,
All right. So Bill, can I take it that you've made said motion?
that's correct.
And Scott, do you second?
Sorry, you can second that.
All right. Very good. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Andy 3-0. So
Yep.
we will, so Andy will move all those items that are currently 5A through G to old business for the next meeting. Moving on, committee member comments. Does anybody have any comments they want to make before we adjourn?
Yes, I wanted to pick a date for the next meeting. So currently it's August 18th. But that's a Tuesday. I know we're trying to keep our Tuesdays free
Yeah.
for the reopening committee and Board of Ed meetings that may come back onto the calendar, which I think is all but certain,
Yeah.
and should be. So looking at August 4th or 11th, that way we can get ahead of whatever
Sure.
happens next.
Now, Bill, I think, what was it called?
Or-
Did you mention maybe you're away at some point?
The 4th is workable for me. The 11th is not. I'm going to be out of the town. I'm
No,
gonna be out
the
of
sorry,
state.
but
The
to
4th
stay
is a
off Tuesdays though.
Tuesday.
Yeah, could we look at Wednesdays? Just to
I
set
could
Tuesdays?
Yeah.
could do Wednesday the 5th.
I can do I can do that date as well. It's the week after that I'm not going to be in town.
Perfect. Very good. Very
Alright.
good. So I will email
Guys,
Kim.
I'm sorry. I cannot do the 5th. I apologize.
That's okay.
I can do the following week, but I cannot do that week.
Yeah, Bill is out on the 12th. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's
What
only
about the 3rd?
Monday?
I
Yeah.
could do the 3rd. The other day I was gonna throw out there is, and it's only a few days prior. Could we do July 29th, Wednesday the 29th?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't want to do multiple meetings in a month.
No, fair
That's-
enough. Fair enough.
Been talked about.
Yeah. Can
I can
everybody
definitely do
the
the.
3rd, the Monday the 3rd?
Yeah, that's what I'm checking now. So
I'm okay for the 3rd if Bill is.
I'm okay for the 3rd.
okay, so the pressure's on.
No, there's no pressure, honestly. I mean,
No events in the evening. No, I'm good.
All
Okay.
right. All right. So the next meeting, I'll make sure and send a note to Kathy. Our next meeting will be on Monday, the 3rd, at 5:30 p.m. Did anybody else have any other comments? Sensing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry. Just
Oh, hold on.
a quick
Backing
question.
up, backing
Yes.
up.
So since I did have a couple of issues on a couple of the policies today, and I wanted to bring up for consideration by the whole board, is that the time to do it, at the time of the reading, of the first reading or such? When would it be the appropriate? I'm asking for information because
yes,
I'm not aware.
yes. So,
Absolutely.
Okay.
so that's something that you can discuss in caucus ahead of the next meeting, whenever that is. Right now, it's the
Okay.
end of August, but I'm sure that won't stick. I'm sure we're going to meet prior to that. And then, yes, when we read the first reading, that's when Chris will introduce, we're now doing the first reading of the last chunk of the 5,000s. Does everybody had a chance to read that? Anybody have any questions or comments regarding? And then you can bring it up at that point as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Perfect. No, and thank you for that clarification, Scott. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Sensing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, there is.
And
move-
Scott,
so
do you
moved.
second?
So move.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are adjourned at 6:56 p.m. Guy, thank you for setting this up. Andy, thank you for guiding us
You
through
got it.
this
Thank you, Guy.
series. And for our guests, hope you enjoyed. Have a great evening.